We're back for more on the Web Insurance Countdown to Kickoff. It's Week 8 here on 1150 WIMA. Todd Walker here, Mike Miller and Jason Aldrich there as we get ready to make our picks for this week. But first we review last week's picks, and why wouldn't we? It was unanimity in unanimous fashion. We were all 5-0. We all had Wapak over OG. We all had Senior High over St. John's. We all had Marion Local over Coldwater. We all had Bath over Shawnee. And we all had Spencerville over Bluffton. So, I believe the first week this season we've been completely in agreement. So the standings now, yours truly at 30-5 after 7 weeks. Miller and Aldrich each at 27-8 with, 3 weeks to go. So
still plenty of time.
Still plenty of time, that is correct. And we look to the big games this week, and really there aren't as many marquee games. Last week, really, Wapak, OG, Marion Local, Coldwater were huge games. This week's a little different. But let's start with the big game of the Northwest Conference. Spencerville at Crestview. The Knights were rolling along and seemed to be getting healthy. They got Oliver back at running back, Malcolm Oliver, to go with Preston Zaleski. They seem to be now improving, and all of a sudden they go over to Ada and they can't score last week. They give up a punt return late and lose to Ada. Now they're home for Spencerville, the chance to turn the season back around. Mike, can the Knights knock off the Bearcats, who are 7-0 for the first time since the Nixon administration?
They can. They're not gonna. Simply put, I think Crestview has showed some weaknesses, and the loss last week at Ada was not that impressive at all. I think Spencerville has actually picked up momentum. The win over Lima Central Catholic gave them just tremendous confidence, and they really haven't stopped at this point. I think they're too much for Crestview. I like Spencerville to stay unbeaten and actually run the table on the regular season.
Yeah, Crestview, I'm sure. Spencerville, last time they were 7-0 was 1972, to specify that Nixon administration reference. Jason, who you got?
And I wasn't even around yet. So there's another reference.
How about
How
that?
does that make you feel?
That makes me feel
And I remember
fine.
it like yesterday.
And why do I still feel so old?
What do you think? Bearcats, Knights?
Yeah, way too much going for Spencerville here. I'm going to take the Cats.
Yeah, this game looked better on paper a couple of weeks ago, but Mike, you're right. I think Crestview, even though without Malcolm Oliver, their offense maybe should have struggled, but defensively, they've not been that impressive throughout the season. I think the Bearcats are going to, in fact, roll tonight against Crestview. Let's move to the Western Buckeye League. No doubt the most impactful game of the night is Wapakoneta at St. Mary's. The old Doug Fry scenario is in play. The Riders, after back-to-back offers, have 4 wins this year. Wapakoneta, a program that Doug Fry built up to where it is. They were expected to be good. Travis Moyer's come in. They've not skipped a beat. They're 7-0. They're state-ranked. They're playoff-bound. Mike, you'll have the call on 107.5 WZRX coming up at 7:30. Can the Riders pull the shocker tonight?
I don't think so, really. I mean, it's impressive what Coach Fry, and I love Coach Fry. I think he's a great guy, and he's been just wholly complimentary. He says he roots for Wapakoneta every time they play, except
today.
Except obviously tonight, which is logical. Who else would want him to? I think St. Mary's is too one-dimensional offensively and too early in the comeback trail with their program to match up with where Wapakoneta is at. And if Wapakoneta can show any full game competence with their offense, not commit unnecessary late game turnovers, this game might not be pretty. I like Wapakoneta.
Yeah, you know what? That's really the one thing missing from the Wapak resume this year is that complete game offensively. We haven't seen a 50-0 or something that you'll see powerhouse teams do sometimes. Really their biggest win was the Defiance 38-0, which is a pretty good margin, but usually a team like Wapak will put up a couple 50-60 spots this year. Might it happen tonight? Jason, who you have?
Well, as we get into the nitty-gritty here of the last couple of weeks of the regular season and we talk about our personal standings that we keep track of, one of these days I'm going to have to go against you guys. Have a different pick and take a chance on possibly getting one right.
Are you setting up a writer's pick
Wait
here?
a minute. I'm the guy who invented the concept of separator.
Well, I specifically remember last year it did come down to the final week,
Yeah.
and I had to go at least two opposite you.
Right.
Didn't work out.
It didn't work, yeah.
And no, I am going to stick with Wapakoneta on this.
He's going to say all that to say this.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Redskins, and I make it unanimous.
Alrighty.
And in fact, this could be, and I predict will be, the game Wapak puts up 50 or 60.
Wow.
I think they're ready to bust out. And I've seen St. Mary's play, and I love what Coach Fry is doing, but defensively they're not that strong. And Wapakoneta, sooner or later, it's going to come all together on a certain Friday night, and tonight probably the night.
Simple add-on to that, Todd. Travis Moyer really, his forte is offense.
Yeah.
And their offense has been very close, quite frankly. They have half a dozen guys who run the ball. Quarterback Morgan is very capable. The biggest thing I think that has largely held down their offensive total is they've always had leads through these games. So it's more of a, hey, watch the clock disappear rather than
Right.
just keep the pedal to the metal. Tonight might be a keep the pedal to the metal kind of game.
Right, and it's not just because of Coach Fry, it's because it's Wapak St. Mary's.
It's bigger than Coach Fry.
Yeah,
it's Walpock St. Mary's.
These games, when you get somebody down, like your rival like that, you grind them into bits, and I think that could happen tonight. How about Kenton Bath, the Battle of Wildcats at Bath Stadium tonight? This one looked like at the beginning of the season you would have thought, well, this is a game Kenton will probably roll and on their way to the playoffs, but you know they are in playoff contention after losing their first two. They've won 5 in a row, but all of a sudden the Bath Wildcats have put together a good season. They're 4-3. This could put them in solid contention for a playoff berth if they can beat Kenton tonight. Mike, you can't just say Wildcats. Who do you have?
No, and I'm not going to just say Wildcats. It was only just a couple of years ago, I think, that Bath pulled an upset.
2012.
Yeah, it was somewhat recent that Bath upset the Kenton Wildcats. Bath seems to have Kenton's number, and as you look at the matchup, Kenton has been obviously a great defense throughout the season, but they haven't really gelled offensively like they traditionally have. I'm smelling an upset tonight at Bath. Bath has maybe even more to play for. Not that Kenton doesn't, but they've been there, done that. I think Bath's going to win a close game tonight and raise a few eyebrows.
So you're picking Bath to knock off Kenton. Jason, what do you say?
Absolutely, positively Wildcats in this one.
No, I already short-circuited that.
I know. We're going to have a difference of opinion here then, because I'm going to take Kenton. I just think they're coming on a little bit better than what Bath has. Granted, don't get me wrong, I think both teams have improved since the first couple of weeks of the regular season, but I'll take Kenton tonight.
I would love to see Bath win this game, and that's no disrespect to Kenton, partially because we have Bath Elida next week. I'd love to see Bath win this game and become playoff relevant, and I think it'll be close, but I think Kenton's still better than Bath is at this point. I'm going to take Kenton. So we got a separator. Elida at Ottawa Glandorf. The Titans in desperate need of a win now and maybe win out and get some help to even make the playoffs. Hard to believe. They've dropped down to Division 5. If they go 8-2, they still might not get in. That's how good of a region they're in. Elida was a play away from going to overtime at Kenton last week. They were deep in Kenton territory late in that game, lost by 7. And the Bulldogs will, one of these weeks, beat a good team, you would think. Is it this week at Titan Stadium, Mike?
I don't think it is. I've seen both of these football teams, and they're at their best part of their attack. Really is their passing game. Neither team has shown much ability to run a whole lot. I think Ottawa Glandorf slightly better defensively, and the Titans are due to rebound after big losses to back-to-back to Kenton and Wapakoneta. I think OG wins a surprisingly close game at home, but I'll take OG.
Jason, what do you think? Titans, Dogs.
Yeah, I'm going to go OG in this one as well. I think Coach Schreiner's going to have his kids rip-roaring and ready to go, so I'll take Ottawa Glandorf.
Yeah, I think all the intangibles point toward OG. Their playoff pride is on the line. They're at home. Elida's playoff chances have dwindled to nothing in the last couple of weeks, and Elida's lost so many heartbreakers. How many times can you have your heart broken and keep come back and play tight games? Elida, 4 of their 5 losses have been by 1 touchdown or less, and 2 were in overtime. But I also like the Titans to bounce back with a strong performance tonight. Our final pick is our broadcast game, Lima Senior hosting the Oregon Clay Eagles. And on paper, certainly an easy pick. Spartans are undefeated, state ranked, rolling through the track. Clay comes in at 1-6, and this would seem to be a no-brainer. Mike, what do you think?
The only chance Oregon Clay has, I like the green and gold of Oregon Clay, but their only chance Oregon Clay has if they can get at least a 2-score lead early and can change the whole formula of the football game. Even that, I'm not sure it matters because it's a fast track at the stadium. I just think Lima Senior is maybe way too much for Oregon Clay, frankly. Easy pick, senior high.
Jason?
One time earlier this year, I believe it was week 2, at Mansfield, I picked against Lima Senior. I ain't picking against them.
They vowed not to do it anymore.
I'm picking the Spartans.
Yeah, I think Lima will win this game, but I do think with some of their defensive personnel dinged up and the fact that Clay has a power running game, I think this will be a more reasonably close game than I would have thought a couple of weeks ago. Clay's been able to score against teams in the track, averaging 30 points over the last 2 weeks. I think the Spartans win this fairly handily, but they'll get a test from Clay tonight.
The other thing for Clay is they've got the long trip to Lima from East Toledo, so I think that wears on teams, especially that are heavy underdogs. So you're obviously picking Lima Senior.
I am picking Lima Senior, and we will have that game for you coming up here at the top of the hour. That wraps up our picks for week number 8. We'll take a break, come back with more of the Web Insurance Countdown to Kickoff as Mark Coons from TV 44 and WOSN joins us here on 1150 WIMA.